We call the meeting to order, and I'm going to read the accessibility statement. This meeting is accessible to people with disabilities. Microphones and telephones will be used by all speakers. Large print materials are available upon advance request. If you would like either of these accommodations, please contact Mary Waldron at 508-583-1833. The notice of non-discrimination rights and protections to beneficiaries with regard to the federal Title VI/ non-discrimination protections and the state non-discrimination protections is posted in this meeting room and is available on the Old Colony Planning Council website. Please contact Mary Waldron at 508-583-1833. And thank you all. And Bill, would you do the roll call, please?
Yes, ma'am. Abington,
Johnstone,
Bruce Hughes,
Avon, Bridgewater.
Jane O'Brien, town planner.
Thank you. Brockton,
John Messia,
Duxbury, East Bridgewater, Easton,
Greg Swan,
Halifax, Hanover, Hanson.
Don Howard,
Thanks, Don. Kingston, Pembroke, Plymouth.
James Downey,
Thanks, James. Plimpton, Stoughton, West Bridgewater, Whitman.
Dan Salvucci, alternate.
Mary Noto, present.
Thank you.
And
Brockton,
Bill,
you're-
just Allison is on from Duxbury.
Okay, thanks, Allison. Brockton Area Transit.
Kelly Forrester.
Thank you, Kelly. And Gatra.
Mary Ellen DeFries.
And MassDOT Office of Transportation Planning.
Raisa Kwame.
Thank you. And MassDOT District 5.
Barbara LaChance.
Thank you, Barbara. And also today we have guests joining us from Beta Group to present on Safe Streets for All. So do we have somebody from Beta who's going to be presenting today?
Hello, yes, Jacqueline Sintracchio from Beta Group, and I have a few of my coworkers here also.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jacqueline. And okay, we're all set, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Bill. I'm going to move on to item 2, which is public comments. Do we have any public comments at this time? Hearing none, I'm going to move forward to item 3, which is the minutes of the May 2nd, 2024 meeting. Do I have any motions on the floor for those minutes?
I'll motion Dan Salvucci Whitman.
Second that motion?
second,
Okay, we're going to take a roll call, Bill.
Okay. Abington,
yes,
yes,
Avon, Bridgewater,
yes, thank you.
Yes, Bridgewater.
Brockton,
yes,
Duxbury,
Yes.
East Bridgewater, Easton, Halifax,
yes,
Hanover, Hanson,
Yes.
Kingston, Pembroke, Plymouth,
Yes.
Plimpton, Stoughton, West Bridgewater, Whitman,
Yes.
Brockton Area Transit,
Yes.
Gatra.
Yes.
Thank you. And MassDOT Office of Transportation Planning
Yes.
and MassDOT District 5.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you all. Item number 4, which is communications, and that would be Sean.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. The first item on the communications staff report is an online grant management tool called Grant Central for MassDOT. All applications and expense reimbursements for the following programs are managed through this online portal, which include Chapter 90, Complete Streets, Local Bottleneck Reduction Program, Municipal Pavement, Municipal Small Bridge, and Shared Streets and Spaces. For more information, please visit the hyperlink in the staff report. Next item is the Municipal Americans with Disabilities Act Improvement Grant Program. Massachusetts Office on Disability is pleased to announce the Municipal Americans with Disabilities Act Improvement Grant Program application and selection process. Any Massachusetts city or town is considered an eligible applicant. These grants will support capital improvements specifically dedicated to improving programmatic access and or removing barriers encountered by persons with disabilities. The fiscal year 25 application submission period is open from May 1st to June 14th at 5 p.m. For more information, please click on the hyperlink in the staff report. The next item is Massachusetts Project Intake Tool, MapHit 5.0 Virtual Classroom. Sessions are available from the UMass Transportation Center, June 4th, 6th, and 20th, all at 10 a.m. The purpose of this course is to familiarize trainees with the newly upgraded MapHit 5.0 tool. The new version leverages the new Experience Builder platform to include improved accessibility and quality of life improvements for a better user experience. For more information, please visit the hyperlink in the staff report. The next item is a Citizen Planner Training Collaborative Spring Workshop Series 2024. The first one is called Roles and Responsibilities of Planning and Zoning Boards, which will be held Thursday, June 6th, so later today at 5:30 p.m. The second course is Introduction to the Zoning Act, which will be held Tuesday, June 18th at 5:30 p.m. The third course is called Writing Reasonable and Defensible Decisions, which will be held Thursday, June 20th at 5:30 p.m. And you can register for any workshop at the hyperlink in this staff report. The next item is Federal Funds and Infrastructure Office, which is the lead agency within the Healy-Driscoll administration tasked with implementing a whole-of-government approach to ensuring the Commonwealth of Massachusetts can leverage the historic opportunities available for federal funding. The next Federal Funds Partnership meeting will be held June 25th at 2 p.m. A newsletter ahead of that meeting with new grant opportunities, contact information, and other helpful resources will be provided. To register for the Zoom meeting, please visit the hyperlink in the staff report. And that is communications. Oh, you're muted, Noreen.
Thank you, Sean.
Oh, very good.
Anyone have any questions on the seminars coming up? All right. Thank you. I'm going to move forward to the BAT report, and that would be Kelly.
Thank you, Noreen. Just have a few things to report today. Happy to report that our board last week voted to allow us to extend our free fares. So BAT will be offering free fare service through December 31st.
Nice.
We were originally supposed to be ending on May 31st, so that is a good extension. We've had some really great ridership respond to that. So we're seeing our highest ridership, highest daily ridership in at least the last 14 years. We haven't been able to go back much farther than that. But we saw a day last week that was over 12,000 riders, which is pretty exciting for a city filled with 100,000 people. And we're continuing to see that go higher. So we are just watching that and hoping that it continues for the next few months. And our last update is we did receive a grant a few weeks ago that will allow us to offer some expanded service for second and third shift workers. So some late night, overnight type service. And we're going to be exploring some partnerships with local companies like Uber and Lyft and see what sorts of service we can provide for that. And that is all.
Thank you, Kelly. That's great news that you folks are attracting all those people. Wow.
It's great.
You pick up, some probably regulars from such large numbers. Yeah,
we think it's a lot of more trips, but we think we are getting a lot of new customers as well, which is really what we were looking for. So that is great.
Now, when you're working with those businesses, would that be like a situation where it's a reverse commute that they get to whatever business park that they going to, and the company could fund some of that to get the people back and forth? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, so we received a grant, and our scope of our grant is pretty broad, so it's going to allow us a little bit of freedom. But right now it's not even going to be tied to someone on a bus route. So they
Okay.
could be a place that is not on a bus route, but is a later night service, overnight service, and
Oh,
might need to get to work. So we're hoping that, maybe early fall next year, we'll be able to unveil some new ways to get people to and from work, when our city service right now ends at 9:30. So we realize that there are still people who are out and about and need to get to and from after that.
yeah, like the people that do like the 11 o'clock shift, something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and with the hospital opening up, that would be probably a really needed service.
Right. That would be
You know?
great.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Any questions for Kelly?
Yeah, Noreen, I do.
Yes.
Um,
And
thank you. The ridership, the revenues from ridership, how much does that affect your budget for that? I assume that those revenues are incorporated.
So we are offering this free fare service because we received a grant. So it is being replaced. So we have only extended it because there is more money available to replace that. So yes, that's a great question. So we do have a tri-transit grant that was awarded through the state, and we are able to leverage that and extend it a little bit farther.
Right, because like I said, the MBTA is not seeing the ridership that it has in the past. And of course, ridership is down, which means revenues are down and they're in a huge deficit. So, all right, I was just quite curious of how you did it. I want to know if you guys wanted to manage the MBTA.
No, thank you.
Any other questions for Kelly? Hearing none. Thank you, Kelly. Great presentation.
Thank you.
I want to move on to the Greater Attleboro Taunton Regional Transit Authority. Do we have Gatra here today?
Mary Ellen, I'm
We do,
here.
Mary Ellen. Hi.
Hi. Yeah. So we are not fare free, but we did get another grant. We will go fare free for the holidays, which is where we have been focusing our efforts on the fare free. But we are excited to announce that we have been awarded a grant through the state to connect Brockton, Taunton, and Fall River. So we will be running service sometime, probably August, September timeframe. By the time we get a contractor, there will be running service, which will then open up all three areas that the transit authorities cover with this interconnectivity. And we've had some really great feedback that this is well needed and hopefully can connect everybody up. And other than that, we are continuing to run service and monitor MBTA station closings so that we can hopefully address any service changes that come up with those. I know Kingston has one coming up in a few weeks. So we're trying to work with them to make sure there'll still be service. And that's the GATRA report.
Thank you, Mary Ellen. Any questions for Mary Ellen? For GATRA? All right, thank you. I'm gonna move on to item 3, which is the South Coast Rail project, and that would be Sean.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. As everybody knows who's been attending our meetings for quite some time, South Coast Rail will be restoring commuter rail service to the cities of Taunton, Fall River, and New Bedford, as they are the only major cities within 50 miles of Boston without commuter rail service. South Coast Rail consists of 2 phases. Phase 1, which is what is currently ongoing, will provide a 1-seat ride by extending the existing Middleborough-Lakeville commuter rail line over to Taunton and then down south to Fall River and New Bedford. The latest estimated time frame is late summer, early fall of this year. And within the month of May, some of the work that was conducted involved fencing installation in multiple communities, overnight work and train testing, sidewalk work at an intersection in New Bedford, the continued construction of the pedestrian bridge over Route 18 in New Bedford, bus service between the Bridgewater and Middleborough Lakeville stations from April 27th through May 5th to allow for work on the project, and signal system installation in multiple communities. If anybody is interested in receiving the automatic weekly updates for this project, you can click on the hyperlink and enter in your email address to have them sent directly to your email. And that is South Coast Rail.
Thank you, Sean. Any questions for Sean on South Coast Rail? All right, thanks again.
You're welcome.
I will be moving forward, and next item is under old business. And it is FFY 2024 to 2028 Transportation Improvement Program tip implementation. Bill?
Yep, thanks, Madam Chair. So I'll just focus on this current year, FY 2024 for now. So as you see, and I think we're all aware of this by now, but in Brockton, the project that had been programmed this year, Route 123 at Plymouth Street here in the downtown, that was unable to meet advertisement, not ready for advertisement this year. So that's now programmed next year in FFY 2025. And we'll go to the next page. And then you see that the other update that I have for this year is the bridge replacement in Plimpton, which is the Winnetoxet Road bridge over the Winnetoxet River. The PS&E resubmission number 2 was received by MassDOT at the end of last month, and there was a cost increase on that as well. It went up about $1 million, and that was previously amended last month. So both with the exception of the Plymouth, with the exception of Route 123 Plymouth Street, Brockton, the remainder of these projects are in good shape and ready to be advertised this year. That's my update. Any questions?
Bill, any questions? Hearing none. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Under item 7, which is new business, and this is the report from the nominating committee and election of Old Colony JTC offices 2024 to 2025. And I'll turn that over to the nominating committee.
John or James, you want to lead this? Or?
Sure, thank you, Bill. Just to report back on that, we do have 2 nominees. One would be Noreen O'Toole, and the other Dan Salvucci. Candidates, both candidates expressed interest, and we would like to nominate them. One, Noreen as chairperson and Dan as vice chair.
I accept. Thank you.
I accept. Thank you all very much that you have the confidence in both of us. We appreciate it very much.
Absolutely. Thank you for your service.
Yes, you're welcome. Item number B, which is the Old Colony FFY 2025 Unified Planning Work Program. And it's the 21-day public review and comment period.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay.
I'll take this one. So the Old Colony MPO at their May meeting released the draft 2025 Unified Planning Work Program to a 21-day public review and comment period, as is customary for certification documents. You've seen TIP documents go out for a public review, so this is undergoing the same process. For those new to the planning process, the Unified Planning Work Program is the scope of work and budget for the transportation activities of the upcoming federal fiscal year, and the geographic scope of the UPWP service area is actually the 17 communities within the Old Colony Planning Council region. And through this document, it funds multiple activities, and the funding sources include Federal Highway Administration, Federal Transit Administration, MassDOT, and the Brockton Area Transit. John, if you could go to the next slide. What you can see on your screen is the beginning. The major items are within the Unified Planning Work Program, and there are 4 major task areas, and those are subdivided into subtasks. The first task area is management and support of the planning process and certification activities. And within this main task, we have items such as activities to maintain our planning certification, operation of our public participation program, development of our transportation improvement program, and our Title VI and environmental justice activities. Under task element 2000, that's entitled Data Reconnaissance, Acquisition, and Analysis Activities. This is our data collection, clearinghouse, if you will, and there are multiple things in here. The first one being demographic and land use surveillance. Task 2200, that's our traffic count program and our drone program. Also within this main area is the geographic information systems, and we can provide mapping services to member communities. And last but not least, in this area, we have operation of our congestion management process, our pavement management system, our safety management system, and also our travel demand model. And the travel demand model, as you recall, when we were developing the long-range transportation plan, this was instrumental in telling us how many trips would be traveling through the communities and vehicle miles of travel on roads up through the year 2050. On the next slide, element or task, I should say, 3000, that's our short and long range planning activities. And what I wanted to highlight in this one is, actually 4 different discretionary items along with operation of our local highway technical assistance program. So later on in the agenda, you'll hear a report from Bill McNulty about status of the local highway transportation technical assistance. And this is a really nice program where communities may request technical assistance for a road safety audit or traffic counts or the like, a traffic signal warrant analysis, et cetera. And this is done at no cost to our regional communities. And also included in this element here is the listing of 3 discretionary corridor studies. The first being in Avon. We're proposing to do a Route 28 corridor study in the town of Avon. Also a Route 104 corridor study in the town of Bridgewater. And the last corridor study we propose is Route 3A in the town of Plymouth. And this would not cover the entire 3A corridor in Plymouth. This would be from Sandwich Street southerly to the Bourne line. And one of the items also included in this UPWP is programming of the Safe Streets for All action plan support. And we'll hear later on a presentation from the Beta Group on the status and development of a SS4A regional action plan. And then in task 4000, that's our transit planning activities. And this is where we also include the estimated budget and the listing of staff on the contract. So that's just a quick highlight of what's in the Unified Planning Work Program. We're here to answer any questions, and if there are no questions, we would respectfully ask for a motion to endorse this, and we'll report back to the MPO at their June meeting.
Does anyone have any questions on the plan for Charlie?
Hi, Charlie, James Downey from Plymouth. Under the short range, long range transportation plan activities, the Route 3A corridor study, Plymouth, would there be public outreach as part of that process or?
Yeah, what we'll do is set up a public survey, and we'll have a public meeting along the way, and we'll certainly coordinate with the town. As part of this process, there will be the existing conditions analysis for traffic counts, turning movement counts, pavement management, crash analysis, et cetera. And then we'll work on the public outreach aspect, working closely with the town on how and in what methods do we reach out to the public.
Okay. And do you know more or less when that might start?
So the Unified Planning Work Program runs on the federal fiscal year, which is October 1st through September 30th. So we'll commence, full-on activities on this work in October, but we might be doing some initial data collection in September. But we're looking to set up a meeting with you and Lee to coordinate some of the data collection.
All right, very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Charlie regarding the plan?
Hello, testing 1, 2. Hello, Rick Jordan here from Avon.
Hi, Rick.
Welcome, Rick.
At yesterday's meeting that we had with Mass DOT and Avon and OCPC was there, there was discussion of the sidewalks to nowhere that will be built on the Route 28 renovation at Harrison Boulevard and Spring Street. And there was a question raised about, longer term plans for Route 28 and where those sidewalks might eventually go. I don't know if that's relevant here or if that's a future tip item or something to think about in our planning.
Yes, thank you, Rick, for the question. You're exactly right that the as it was brought up, the question was asked, I was like, well, when are we going to see improvements beyond the project that was being discussed the other day? And this will be one of the kind of the items to help kickstart the infrastructure improvements down the road is by doing an in-depth corridor study and looking at sidewalk connectivity, bike connectivity. So our hope is that by doing this planning level study, this will provide a lot of the foundation work for initiating work down the road on the Route 28 corridor outside of the current project. So.
See, okay, thank you.
Welcome.
When did that start,
This corridor study will start in October and then run throughout the federal fiscal year and conclude next a year from this coming September.
Sorry for my newbie type questions. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Welcome, Rick. Any other questions for Charlie? Thank you, Charlie.
Welcome.
Hearing none, I'm gonna move forward.
Um,
Oh,
we need
we
a motion?
want to do a motion, yes.
yeah, so we have to, we have, so we have to take two votes actually, so we do need to vote on the election of the officers and then votes to
Okay.
endorse this.
Okay, so we'll track back for the motion for the election of the officers to the JTC.
And so yes, yep, then just refresh, so that's then nominate Noreen O'Toole to continue in her position as chairperson for the 2024-2025 term, and as well as Dan Silvucci to continue on in his role as vice chairperson for that term. So would you like me to proceed with a roll call vote?
Yes, thank you.
So Abington?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Avon?
Yes.
Bridgewater?
Yes.
Brockton?
Yes.
Duxbury?
Yes.
East Bridgewater? Easton?
Yes.
Halifax? Hanson?
Yes.
Hanover? Kingston? Pembroke? Plymouth?
Yes.
Plimpton? Stoughton?
Yes.
Thank you. West Bridgewater? Whitman?
Yes.
Yes,
And Brockton Area Transit?
Yes.
Gatra?
Yes.
MassDOT District 5?
Yes.
And MassDOT Office of Transportation Planning.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. And congratulations, Noreen and Dan.
thank you
Thank you.
very much. And again, thank you to the entire committee. All right, the next motion will be to endorse the Old FFY 2025 Unified Planning Work Program. Do I hear a motion to endorse?
I'll make that motion, Dan from Whitman.
I'll second it from Plymouth.
All right.
Roll call, Bill, please.
Yes, ma'am. Abington,
Yes.
Yes.
Avon, Bridgewater.
Yes. Yes.
Yes,
Thank you.
Bridgewater.
Thank you. Brockton,
Yes.
East Bridgewater, Duxbury,
Yes.
Easton, Halifax, Hanover, Hanson,
Yes.
Kingston, Pembroke, Plymouth,
Plymouth, yes.
thank you. Plimpton, Stoughton,
Yes.
thank you. West Bridgewater, Whitman,
Yes.
Yes.
Brockton Area Transit,
Yes.
Gatra,
Yes.
MassDOT District 5,
Yes.
and MassDOT Office of Transportation Planning.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Motion carries. Item number C under 7, which is the Old Colony Safe Streets for All the regional vision, the zero action plan, and we're gonna have a project update from the Beta Group. Welcome, Jacqueline, I think.
Yes,
Yes, okay.
exactly.
hello.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you. So I'll be starting the presentation and my coworkers, Anna and Austin, will be joining in as well. And Austin will be sharing his screen.
Yes. Could I just get access to share my screen?
Yes, you have it now.
Cool, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, shall I get started? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for inviting us here today. This is a really interesting project for us, and we're happy to share with you an update of where we're at in the SS4A process. And again, my name is Jacqueline Centracchio. I'm the project manager, and I'm joined with Austin Bazzeni and Anna Sangri, and actually Jeff Max Tudis from Beta Group is also here, and CSS, who is a sub to us for public engagement, is also on to listen. And so first, we'll talk about our agenda. Just quickly, we're going to go over our project goals and objectives, discuss the different analyses we've done. We'll touch on some possible countermeasures to mitigate the crashes that we've seen through our analysis. We'll show you an example of our crash dashboard, and then we'll discuss some next steps ahead of us in the project. So the overarching goal of this project is to eliminate roadway fatalities and serious injuries for all users within the OCPC region. The plan objective is to identify high injury, high risk intersections, roadway segment locations, and to identify safety trends and overrepresented crash types in each community. Then using that information, we're going to propose site-specific and network-wide countermeasures. So after this slide, yep, Anna's going to now go into a deeper discussion about our analysis.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. So I'm going to talk about the trends-based portion of the safety analysis. So the trends-based analysis focuses on answering the question where a crash is happening in the OCPC region now using reported crash information. Next slide. So the final output from the trends-based analysis is a network of high injury intersections and segments identified due to their previous crash history. This slide outlines the methodology for identifying these high injury locations. First, the inputs for the analysis are roads and intersections in the OCPC region, roadway crashes from 2018 to 2022, and environmental justice communities. The analysis processes the inputs to get the crashes at the intersection and segment level, and then weights the segments and intersections by the seriousness of the crashes occurring, whether a person walking or biking was involved in the crash, and whether crashes were in an EJ community or not. Next slide. So this is the map that we have so far of the high injury network based on the trends-based analysis. So as you can see, the red dots are the highest. The red dots are the highest priority locations. So Brockton has a high concentration of high priority locations, as you can see, due to the number and severity of crashes, as well as the number of crashes involving people walking and biking, and being an environmental justice community. You can go to the next slide. So this shows the top intersections in the region. The top locations are all in Brockton. This slide gives you a sense of those locations. So as you can see, Main Street by Pleasant Street and Franklin Street is the top location identified due to the high number of crashes resulting in non-serious injury. There are 37 crashes, serious injury, 3 crashes, and number of non-motorist injuries. There were 13 at this location. You can go to the next slide. We also wanted to look at intersections outside Brockton as well. So looking outside Brockton, the top locations the top 4 locations are in Easton and Stoughton. The top location was Turnpike Street and Purchase Street in Easton, identified due to the high number of non-serious injury crashes with 38 crashes, 3 serious injury crashes, and 1 fatal crash. Next slide.
All right, so now I'm just going to talk a little bit about the risk-based analysis that we've done, and this is mainly addressing the question where we expect crashes to occur in the future. So without getting too much into detail, we used our trends-based high energy network as an input, and then for predictive processing, we used roadway characteristics such as average daily traffic, roadway width, speed limit, all these factors that may contribute to higher high risk locations. And then we used machine learning models to basically predict where we expect high risk corridors and intersections would occur across the entire region. And this is just a very basic level map of downtown Brockton, so you can see where the high level or high risk intersections and segments are occurring. And we rank these by z-score, so this is basically a comparison of the segment or intersection to the average of the region. So a z-score of 0 would be an average. So if you have z-scores of about 11, then they're very, very high on the list of severe and fatal locations. And back to Anna.
Yeah, so I'll talk about some key findings from the crash analysis on a network-wide level. Next slide. So this slide shows the percentage of reported crashes by severity during the study period 2018 to 2022. As you can see, there were 119 fatal crashes during that period, 875 crashes that resulted in serious injury, and 11,000 crashes resulted in a less severe injury. Next slide. This chart shows the severity of crashes by type of crash. So the crash types at the top had the highest percentage of reported crashes that resulted in a serious or fatal injury. So non-motorist crashes or crashes where a vehicle struck a person walking or biking were more likely to result in a serious or fatal injury, followed by head-on crashes, single vehicle crashes, and angle crashes. So these crashes types are the kind of crashes that we'll be focusing more on when identifying countermeasures. Next slide. This slide shows the total number of crashes by town and the percentage of townwide crashes resulting in injury. So Brockton has the highest number of total crashes, followed by Plymouth and Stoughton. Brockton also has the highest percentage of crashes that resulted in an injury. Next slide. The slide shows the EJ communities within the OCPC region. 45% of total 45% of crashes that occurred within an EJ community. And these are communities that have a high number of low-income residents, limited English proficiency, or low-income, limited English, and people of color. Next slide. This looks at transit and crashes. So notably, we found that 61% of crashes with a non-motorist occurred within a quarter mile of a transit stop or station. This compares to only 38% of total crashes. So this kind of indicates, in general, thinking about safety for people walking and biking when accessing transit stops and stations is important. Next slide. Next, I'll briefly touch on a couple overrepresented crash types again. Next slide. So this slide, the pie chart on the left shows the breakdown of all crashes by the type of crash. And the pie chart on the right shows the breakdown of just serious or fatal crashes. So if the pie slice on the right is larger, it means the type is overrepresented in serious and fatal crashes. So again, you can see here that, well, just 2% of all crashes involved a person walking or biking, 14% of serious and fatal crashes involved a person walking or biking. Head-on crashes accounted for just 4% of all crashes, but 14% of total crashes. So this is just a couple key findings here. Next slide. This looks into lighting condition and crash severity. So again, if the pie slice is bigger on the right, the crash type is overrepresented. So you can see the pie slice for daylight is smaller on the right. So this means that daylight crashes are underrepresented in serious and fatal crashes, or put another way, that nighttime or low light visibility crashes are overrepresented. So this shows that nighttime crashes are a priority when thinking about serious and fatal crashes across the network. That's all.
Yeah, then I'm just going to talk about a little bit of research we've done for possible countermeasures. So we've done some research into crash modification factors for specific crash types. One of the examples we were looking into was for non-motorist crashes, so between vehicles and pedestrians and bicyclists. Some examples we found were installing pedestrian hybrid beacons, which you've probably seen for MassDOT as well, installing raised pedestrian crosswalks at intersections, and also converting traditional bike lanes to separated bike lanes with flexi posts. And all of these have crash modification factors of around 0.5, which essentially means that you should expect to see 50% of the existing crashes after implementing this countermeasure. So if you had 100 crashes before, you should expect to have only 50 at the end. And then the final thing I wanted to mention was our dashboard. So this is just a screenshot from our dashboard. I didn't want to get too much into all the different features we have yet, but it basically can give you an overview of the entire region, or it can go city and town specific. So you can see how many crashes occurred in your city or town. You can see the prioritized list for both intersections and segments for townwide or region-wide. You can also see how crash severity and manner of collision breaks down. And then there's also different layers in the dashboard as well, such as the GeoDot project. So you can see what TIP projects are being already done in different towns and cities. And then you can also see environmental justice communities as well and see how high risk locations in those interact. On to the next steps.
Okay, next steps. We put together a public engagement plan. It's in draft form, and we're waiting for comments on that before we finalize it. We plan to start meeting one-on-one with communities. So it'll be just us and the community, and we're going to have a sit down and we're going to, talk about their concerns and any relevant analysis that they might want to know about that we have to date for their community. Then we are also working on the draft safety evaluation and developing those countermeasures even more to put in our safety plan. Those are the next steps. And then we will have a public engagement meeting for all of OCPC upcoming. And I just wanted about this presentation, we did have a much longer presentation with a lot more information, and we really narrowed this down for this meeting's purpose. So we definitely have a lot more pie charts and graphs and everything showing the analysis that we've done.
I had a quick question. It could be Austin or one of your slides there. I saw a raised crosswalk.
Yes.
Is that something that has been helping communities in towns, as far as pedestrians?
Are you saying that is that something that's been helping communities?
Yes.
I believe so. Yeah, it's actually when I used to live in Boston, a lot of these are actually popping up not just at intersections, but also at mid-block crossings as well. And it's definitely helped a lot with reducing vehicle speeds and then also making sure pedestrians are visible on these crosswalks.
Yeah, this is Jeff Macatutis from Beta. I could add a little bit more to that. Yeah, so we've been planning and designing a lot of these in communities recently, either part of the Complete Streets, projects or other funding sources. But yeah, we've seen a lot of benefits with these. And like Austin said, they could be at intersections, they could be at mid-block, but they do a few different things. One is they slow vehicles down. One is they bring the pedestrian height up a little bit so they're more visible by motorists. And when they're combined even with other type amenities, say like curb extensions or rectangular flashing beacons, they become really effective. So if you combine one or more of these techniques to improve visibility, slow vehicles down, improve awareness, we've seen a good compliance with drivers, and we believe it's making it safer for pedestrians.
And I had another question too, on the same slide. The bike lane separated from where the parking is. And I've seen that in cities, I've seen that in Boston, in Brookline. In the suburbs, we don't seem to have roads that are wide enough for situations like this. I mean, I see a lot of the bike lanes, but they just don't have that, that length, that width, and maybe they don't have the use either as much as it is in the cities. So in the suburbs, these lanes are a lot smaller because of, I guess, the width of the road. If someone wants to just kind of add to that.
Yeah, we take, each roadway into account and what's available to us to be able to
Right.
implement whichever, devices would be applicable for that particular location.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, so the highest level we'd like, if you have the room, you can separate bicycle lanes, which
Right.
is the safest, right? But if you don't have that, then we'd like to have some kind of a buffer on the street, and it could be, just it could be flex post like shown here. It could just be striping, pavement marking. And then if, it could just be a bike lane, but that's kind of going from highest to lowest. And then if you can't get 5 feet for a bike lane, then a wide shoulder is better than nothing, right? So you call it a bike, we don't call it a bike lane, we call it a bike accommodation. So
Oh, okay.
we try to do
Yeah.
the best we can.
Yeah, and I think sometimes communities, they actually have more space than they think. So, so you might look at the road, at the lane list, and you might, those lane lists might be 13 feet wide, and you cut those down to 10 feet. But then while you just bought yourself 6 extra feet, just in the existing cross section. Yeah, I think often, not always, but often there is more room than communities actually think. You don't always need that 13, 14-foot travel lane.
Any other questions for Beta?
I think Daniel has his hand up.
Yes, two questions. First of all, the raised crosswalks, does that affect winter plowing of snow?
It used to be an issue when these things were first being implemented and designed. It's not so much an issue anymore. Cause actually the ramp, and this one we're showing actually has a short ramp. Most of them, the ramp's a little longer. But the DPW maintenance crews are familiar with them now and know how to plow them. So we're not seeing as much pushback on snow removal for these as we did when they were newer and people weren't experienced with them.
Okay, and my second question is, one of the complaints that we're getting in Whitman is the motorized skateboards, bicycles, and scooters. They go pretty fast, and they're on sidewalks and in the streets and in the park, and kids just are using them, and it's a lot of people are complaining about them. I mean, if they're in the streets, I've seen them go down a sidewalk and without even looking, go think they're in the crosswalk and they'd be okay. But yet you have cars that are getting ready to go when they stop first. And I just see an accident waiting to happen. Is there a way of solving this issue other than, I don't know, teaching the kids to be more safe?
Yeah, I could start off and others can jump in, but I agree with what you're saying, because this is kind of a new mode for people, motorized skateboards and all that. It's the conferences I've been to, it's being addressed but slowly, because it's kind of a new element in the transportation system. And with electric bikes and the speeds and how they're powered, and that's the thing, when you have the greater variation in speed between these things. 15 miles an hour, you hit a pedestrian, it's going to be serious. And so there's a lot of gray area, and are these allowed on sidewalks or roadways, and do you need helmets and all that. So I'll just say it's evolving, how to treat these and the policies and enforcement. we're not there yet. So I agree it's a big issue, and we're trying to stay on top of it and monitor that. And we will look at, if crashes come up, we're trying to identify that. But so I guess I guess the industry is working toward addressing it, and we're just not there yet.
Yeah, one of the issues is the fact that the kids are very young who are riding them. You get 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-old kids that are on these skateboards or motorized bikes or whatever. And they're just, I don't know, maybe not mature enough.
Yeah,
With something like that. They just get excited because they're going fast and they don't have to pedal.
I agree. I think it's an issue. I know we have to talk about safety equipment, whether requiring lights, or helmets, education, to how to use these. And then people can be distracted too. Sometimes you see someone on an electric skateboard on their cell phone, and that doesn't help. So
Right. Yeah.
I think
true.
yeah, I mean, I think education is going to be a big part of the process.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for Beta? Anyone's hand up?
I could ask a
Rick?
question.
Rick?
Could you go back to the slide that shows the number of crashes by town? That's it, yes. So that's kind of interesting. I mean, I'm sometimes thinking about how bad is the crash problem in Avon. And it's interesting that, quite a few towns are in the 1,200 to 1,600 range. But I'm wondering, how do I compare that? I mean, is Avon worse than Whitman? Or is Avon better than Whitman? Do I do that on a per capita? Have you thought about doing that on a per capita basis, or a per mile traveled basis, or some other comparative metric?
I'll take that one. Yeah, we have thought about, we've gotten that comment a couple times. So it's something we're looking into right now. We just didn't show that slide here. But once we get those results, we'll share those with you all as well. Yeah, because I think by per capita is probably the easiest, because we can use census data and just kind of compare towns to each other, if that makes sense.
It does to some extent, except that, a town like Avon only has 4.5 square miles, whereas Rochester has a huge square mileage.
As well. Yeah, Plymouth is a very large town geographically, so that probably has something to do with the number of crashes there. So yeah, definitely something to consider as well, per mile maybe.
I have a question on that, if I may, Noreen. Does the crashes, does it depend on, like, I look at Whitman, 1,184. It's a very small 6 square miles, but I guess it's the population and the traffic study. And when I look at Hanson, it's bigger, but it only has 775. You got Halifax, which is more land. It's only got 422. And the Plymouth the same way. So I'm wondering, it's the road mileage and not the land factor. The miles of streets and stuff. And I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of it's tied into vehicle miles traveled, VMT. So I mean, Whitman, just being where you are, you're catching a lot of traffic going through your town, not necessarily generated within the town or coming to the town. For example, when I commute here from Marshfield, I go through Whitman. And whereas some of these other towns don't really have as much cross-through traffic, so it's
right.
It's really based a lot on the the VMT and yeah.
Yeah, okay. Plus Route 18, major route.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I would say that Avon is similar to Whitman in that we have a lot of traffic going through Avon from other towns. We're a similar land area at 4.5 square miles to Whitman. And our number here of 1346 is comparable to Whitman at 1184.
Yeah. Seems strange.
Question I have.
How do you get vehicle miles traveled? Where does the data for vehicle mile travel come from? How reliable is that? I mean, it's obviously very reliable to do it per capita or per road miles or per land square area, miles of square area. But how do you come up with vehicle miles traveled?
It's difficult to, I'm sorry, go ahead. I was just gonna say, it's difficult to measure specifically by community. So MassDOT does record all that, they monitor that, but it's typically by roadways. So they'll, for example, they know the VMT for Route 24, they know the VMT for Route 123 in Brockton and Abington. But it, community wide, that's really difficult to track. I know we've never had a aside from using models, which may or may not be accurate. It's really difficult to determine overall VMT in a community.
I think for that reason, I would like to compare it to a number of road miles in my town.
Yeah.
Is anyone using pedestrian hybrid beacons in southeastern Massachusetts? I've never seen them.
You mean the overhead signals? So
The Hawk.
the Hawk, yeah. Plymouth has one.
Plymouth does
but-
have one.
Yeah.
We have one with a rapid flash beacon, so.
Yeah, it's not southeastern Mass, but the only others that I know anywhere in the region are in downtown Quincy.
Is Brockton in front of the Pluff School? Is that a Hawk?
No.
It's kind of similar. It's overhead, but it's not. It's a school flashing school.
Yeah, that's just a yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I just had a question. Would Beta be able to send the town-specific information for Plymouth to Plymouth?
I think we'd be able to do that. We just need to fine tune some things before sending it, but we can certainly do that.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
I will say we are putting in a pedestrian hybrid beacon for a rail trail that we're doing in Norton.
Any other questions or comments for Beta? Yeah, hearing none. Thank you, Beta team.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Lots of information to digest.
Yeah.
Great job. Great job.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, I'm going to continue. Under 8 other business, the community local technical assistance studies. I think that would be Bill.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. So just updates on a couple of projects. So we're working on a sub-area traffic study for the towns of Duxbury and Kingston. That's looking at the Landing Road corridor and some of the roadways in South Duxbury that feeds into. Data collection has been completed and analysis is underway, and that data and findings will be distributed to the town shortly. And then also in Plimpton, we're working on a road safety audit for Route 58 Center Street. Actually, it's a full traffic study with a road safety audit. So that road safety audit is scheduled for this month, and that is my update.
Thank you, Bill. Any questions for Bill or comments on the technical assistance studies? Hearing none, I'm gonna move forward to 8B, staff reviews on ENFs, EIRs, and MPCs. And that would be Kyle.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a few updates for everyone. No new projects this month. We do have one certificate. It's Town of Plymouth, 16 Town Wharf. This is an expanded environmental notification form. The certificate states this project will require the submission of an environmental impact report. And one public notice, notice of intent to initiate an ecological restoration project in Plymouth. There actually is two of these. The first one's for the Pinnacle Cranberry Bog Wetland Restoration Project, and the second one is a fish bypass channel and repairs to the Jenny Pond Dam. And that concludes my MEPA report.
Thank you. Any questions for Kyle on his report? Thank you, Kyle. Gonna
You're
move
welcome.
on to item 6, which are regional concerns and local community transportation issues. And I'll open it up to the committee, whoever wants to speak. Ooh. All right, I don't hear any this time. Thank you all for coming to the meeting. And our last item is 9, adjournment. And July, before we adjourn, what is the schedule for July for the committee? Bill? I saw the
Yep.
email that we could.
Yeah, I believe we're taking it off, so the
Okay. I
we would have
wasn't
had to
sure.
reschedule anyways, because the date we would have had it was July 4th, so
Right,
obviously
yeah.
we would have had to reschedule anyways, so I think we're just gonna take the month off.
Okay, I just wanted
Ooh, vacation.
to report that back to the committee so that, they wouldn't, in case they missed your email. All right, so we have no meeting in July so that everybody knows. And happy July 4th, a little early. And I have item number 9, which is adjournment. Do I have a motion on that?
Motion Dan from Whitman.
I have a second.
I'll second it.
Second from Hanson.
All in favor, we can wave.
Aye.
Yep, and thank
Aye.
you, staff. Thank you, staff, for all your hard work. Another great meeting. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you,
This was a
everyone.
good meeting.
Thank you,
Take care.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.